Welcome to lecture 46 of the course Modeling and TCAD Simulation of Solar Photovoltaic Cell. In this lecture, we will start the simulation of solar cell using SCAP-1D. Myself, Mukul Kumar Das from Department of Electronics Engineering, IIT ISM Dhanbad, and Dr. Syed Sadiq Anwar Askari. He is currently now in Manipal University, faculty there, and Mr. Pranay Kumar is a senior research fellow at IIT ISM Dhanbad. They are assisting me in this course as a TA. In last 2 weeks, if you remember, we have discussed the numerical simulation techniques and also solution of coupled equations, means Poisson equation and continuity equation. How to solve we have discussed to get the terminal voltage current characteristics of solar cell. In this week, we will start the TCAD simulation, that is demonstration on simulation using SCAP-1D. And particularly in this lecture, we will introduce you about SCAP-1D installation process and the simulation steps. SCAP-1D is a solar cell simulator, is an open source software. Let us first discuss how to download and install SCAPS. So this is the name Solar Cell Capacitance Simulator. It is a one-dimensional solar cell simulation program, and it is developed by a team in the Department of Electronics and Information Systems, ELIS, of the University of Gent, Belgium. The software is freely available to the photovoltaic research community, that is universities and research institutes, and the software or the program can be freely downloaded. However, you are requested to report to Mark Bergelman. The mail ID is provided here. When you download it, the SCAPS version, and also you simulate it or install it in your system. So 2 links are given here. From here we can get the total manual, is the first one, and in the zip file you can get the software, that is a setup. Now, the first, that is introduction to SCAP-1D. Here it is shown that scaps.elis.ugent.be/scaps install.t.html. This link actually is provided here. This link to open the SCAPS web page for more detail about the different versions of SCAPS. So here the details of these SCAPS are available. Here it is already mentioned that it is a one-dimensional solar cell simulation program developed at the University of Gent, Belgium, and several researchers have contributed to its development. So these are the researchers, they have contributed a lot in developing this, and a description of the program and algorithm used in SCAP, it can be found in the literature. These 3 literatures are mentioned. These are also given in the reference slide of this lecture. So there you can get the detailed internal steps of the SCAPS. Let us first discuss how to download that files to be downloaded for the running of SCAPS. You see there is a link, this in a red dot box. This is a zip file. So here you have to click to download the SCAPS installation package. And before installing the SCAPS, if you have already any existing SCAPS version, that should be uninstalled. This is a note for this before installation. And the size is also mentioned. This is for version 4 to 6. 19.3 MB almost, so not large space it is taking. And this is the most recent installation package. Okay. So after download, you have to extract the installation package .zip file. From that you have to extract and all the files in a specific folder. And here again it is reported, it is mentioned that please report to this mail ID when you have completed your download for any SCAPS version. And your name, your institution name and address, and in case of PhD student or doctorate student, you have to mention your supervisor's name also. So these are the two links, again it is provided here. First one is for manual, detailed manual, and the second one is for installation setup. It is a general guideline, it is mentioned here. You can read out and you can follow to download these things. It is detailed in this paragraph. Anyway, so suppose you have already downloaded these things and this installation package is a setup file which is created that you have to create to install the SCAPS in the program file. So this setup file after extraction you are getting and you have to click the setup file. And this setup file, if you click, you have some procedures for installation. It is self-explanatory. You can proceed accordingly. And after installation, open program file that is x86 folder in C drive. Automatically it is made that is SCAPS-3312. This type of name you can find here. And here you are getting the SCAPS software. And now, so this is under the SCAPS-3312. There are several folders you see. Absorption, BDF, DEF, filter, generation, all have some importance. We have to understand the function of each folder and other things one by one. And also there is this type of symbol SCAPS folder or icon is generated. Let us see what are the meanings of these. Here one PDF file you can see, this is a SCAPS manual, this is the most recent manual you can get. Here you can get the manual. First you should go through the manual, but through these lectures, through the lectures of this course, we are trying to make you more and more familiarized with the software and the detailed simulation steps of solar cell. So these basically manual details are also available in this manual. Now the application file to open the SCAP window, this is the SCAP-3312. This type of symbol you can get. It is a red boxes are there. So you have to open these for the SCAPS window, to open the window where you can work. Now say absorption. This is one folder created. Here the content is basically .abs file. This indicates the absorption file. Absorption file means the absorption characteristics of the material. Here you can define and you can control also. because solar cell is related to the absorption of light. BDF, this file, this folder actually, this .bdf file is a for batch parameter. For a batch processing, the batch parameter can be identified or can be controlled by this BDF. DEF, this .def file is a problem definition file. Definition, DEF means here definition file. So problem definition files are here. So whenever you define the problem, the .def file is generated and it will be here. Now the filter .ftr file. So basically this T lambda or R lambda, T is the transmittance and reflectance at a lambda. These files are some stored value are here. Also if you change the thing, that also will be stored as .ftr file. And we have discussed in a optical modeling course lecture that transmittance and reflectance, they are all wavelength dependent files, and how they are calculated for a multi-layer structure we have discussed in a particular lecture. Anyway, generation file, from the name and see you can understand that generation means it is a generation of electron hole pairs. Here the .gn file, here the generation profile, that is gx as a function of ax, you can control. These are all related to the generation file. Next is grading .grd file. Is grading yx, there is band gap eg, band gap, there is a acceptor concentration, etc. They are mentioned, they are all are controlled under this folder. Next you see the materials. License is always there, so you know for any license, so it is a open source software. So materials, here you can define the materials, particularly the material properties. Measurements, different kinds of measurements are possible in SCAPS-1D simulation. Say .cf means C versus F measurement data, that is capacitance versus frequency. Capacitance versus voltage called .cv measurement data. Actually all these capacitance measurements are very important concerning the interface characteristics. IV also there, IV measurement data is a very well known or famous for solar cell IV. .QE, this is a quantum efficiency measurement data. And this optical capture, this is optical OFT CAPT, this is a short form, this is optical capture. So .opt is the extension. Optical capture cross section, so sigma n, sigma p, these values are related to this optical capture folder. Sigma n, sigma p, etc. But anyway, these are lambda dependent, wavelength dependent. And script, the script, that is the environment where you can write some codes, and this code should be the SCAPS script language. SCAPS script language you can write here the script, and you can run the program. This is a SCAPS script file. Spectrum. Again, the spectrum is also important because the number of photons incident per area per second, that is intensity of light, that can be also defined or controlled by the files where it is stored in this folder. And this, say air mass 1.5, air mass 0, different specifications, different standard values are already there. If you like to change any value, that also you can do. This is the spectrum, under this spectrum. Now this is the environment, this is the action panel. If you see, this is SCAPS 3312, this is the version, the action panel. This is the looks of the environment. After opening that you can get. So information about SCAPS in detail is also mentioned here in the button, SCAPS info. If you like to have a detail of the information about SCAPS, you can put here. You can click here. And after clicking so these types of information, you may get, there is a solar cell simulation program in one dimension, developed at, contact number, this program implements the algorithms present in, about the algorithms, other things, the references, the copyrights, all this information you can get from this. Now go to the again the action panel. Again, let us come after this cap information. Here one problem is called set problem. This is the box is there. So here you have to define the problem and the geometry, that is structure, the materials, all properties of your solar cell, whatever you like to simulate. The set problem, this icon is very important. Now, this is the environmental window above the set problem. This is another. Here if you find there is a temperature, voltage, frequency, number of points, they are mentioned. What are the functions? During run of the development of a simulation program, you will be gradually knowing about this. However, this temperature means basically it indicates the temperature of operation. Voltage means at which voltage, if you like to have a voltage, then you can put here. The frequency also you can put here. Number of points, how many points you like to, how close you like to have a calculation, all these things you can specify from this. It also consists of another field, so many things. Select spectrum file, say AM or 1.5 or whatever you can measure. Even you can change for short wavelength or long wavelength, transmissions, or you can get. So these basically indicate the circumstances in which you want to do the simulation. That is specify the working point. Series and shunt resistance. Series and shunt resistance is also here. It is mentioned here in the series and shunt resistance. One icon is there. So this is a series of shunt resistances also can be mentioned. Illumination property. Illumination property also. This is the illumination. There is a dark or light. Sometimes you like to have a characteristics under dark condition to know many information about the device or junction. That can be switched by this dark or light. And also the characteristics, if you see, the specify simulation spectrum, then calculate Gx. So here the values are very important. This is a light power, incident light power. Sun or lamp, after cutoff, after ND. So all these things can be controlled by this window. Here the one below this working point, other things, here you can get that action, that is what kind of measurement you like to have. There is a pause at each step. This is mentioned, and here the listed IV, CV, CF, quantum efficiency, and the V1, V2, the range of values, voltage also, the frequency also, all you can calculate. So indicate what you will calculate, that is which measurement you want, IV or CV or CF or quantum efficiency. That can be specified from this window. Then the calculate button, just below the set problem, there is a calculate button, is a single shot. That is start the calculations and in a single shot calculation. Then it is associated with the batch setup also. The batch setup calculation actually calculates the batch. Batch means if there are loops, loops under loops. So for a particular parameter you like to say vary. And under a particular value of another parameter. Again the outer parameter, outer loop parameter you like to vary. In that case loop under loop this concept. So this is a batch process calculation here you have to mention. So it is parameters to vary, define range and more and mode also. So these are different types of linear, logarithm, custom modes. So what kind of result, what kind of data you like to have, that also you can mention. And multiple parameters can be varied instead of simultaneously, okay, or nested simultaneously. That is for a particular value of illumination. So D is varying from 0 to certain value. Again for another D value. In this way, when the simulation complete for D, you can change again the illumination level. So this is a multiple parameters that can be varied in a nested loop format. And calculate then, if you calculate batch, if you click, then it basically batch setup is launched with the calculation batch wise or loop wise. This just below this batch is a calculate recorder. These actually record the calculations, record setup and record calculations. So basically in a single shot or batch shot, detail panel shown only for last point. Of course, the after calculation, the value stored in the last register, there is a last value. And record calculation means use this mode to view panels as a function of batch parameters. You should first select the properties which you want to keep track of by clicking the record setup. It will keep the record of the measured data. Curve fitting, this is another important aspect. Is a curve fit setup and calculate curve fitting, that can be done from this. Suppose if you mention the particular curve, what is the desired curve, so that parameter can be also set to fit the expression to the characteristics with the particular curve. This executive script, this basically script writing opportunity. Here actually script setup and execute script, those things are there. So first you have to develop the script in a script setup. In a script actually you can customize your problem, you can customize the device structure, etc. And then you have to execute here. And you can add the extra arguments to this command line in the script. An order of execution, there is a rule, there is order, which sequence, what is the sequence of execution? Is a first dot definition file will be calculated, .def, then dot action, dot act, then SCAPS, then dot specification, then dot generation, then SBF, SRF, and finally script. And by doing so, you can ensure that SCAPS starts in the condition that you prefer, not in the condition fixed by the SCAPS developers. What you like to start with, you can do. This is more flexible. A script file, after clicking the script editor, after in the last slide I have shown this is a script setup. Here you can write the script, and this type of script editor will be appearing. And here you can write the script editor. A script file can be written in any text editor, namely Notepad, just like a Notepad. A typing error is, however, quickly made. This is very important because some syntaxes are there. In order to avoid this, it is strongly recommended to use the script editor, which is launched when clicking the script setup button on the action panel. The script setup button in the action panel, if you click, automatically is coming with the script editor. So this script editor is appearing here. Again in the action panel, this looks the action panel, and the result section, results of calculations, if we describe one by one. So result section, there are EB, GR, AC, IV, CV, CF, QE, all are there. So he basically display the simulated curve. How do you like to have the data? If you like to have energy band, you can select AB. If you like to have the generation recommendation, you can have. So these are the classifications you can do for showing the results after simulation. And the analysis panels, here you see this in the action panel. So these results of calculations under this, so the analysis panels can easily be accessed from the action panel. Several options are available on every panel, and saving data, showing data, saving graphs and plotting the panels. This actually is impossible. There are options also available for scanning and zooming of graphs and to show more information about the plotted curves. This is a common characteristics of other softwares also. At the bottom of every panel, there are two component windows. The left window is auto-generated. Left window is auto-generated and gives the definition file used with its last saving and when the simulation was performed. And the right window can be used to write the personal comments. Now, we will simulate the structure, but before going to that, Basically, this SCAPS is used for thin film solar cell simulation. So, what is the basic layer structure of a solar cell? Already we discussed, but here in terms of software language we like to have. So first of all, this is a front contact layer. This front contact layer, this is basically thin metal grid or transparent conducting oxide which collects the electron generated within the cell, allowing light to pass through the minimum shading. That means the front contact layer should be either transparent, so there is a maybe a indium tin oxide, there is a transparent oxide, conducting oxide, or you can have a finger like contacts, and in that case it allows the energy, light energy, to pass through the gaps, and the optimization of the gap between two consecutive lines, metal lines, contact lines, is also very important. N-type silicon emitter layer, generally it is taken as the phosphorus doped silicon, and this phosphorus doped silicon is taken as emitter layer, is a highly doped N plus layer, and the P-type silicon, or is a comparatively thicker layer, so that P-type silicon layer is called base layer or absorber layer. This base layer in middle, and generally it is more thick compared to the thickness of other layers. And basically this base layer acting as an absorber layer to generate the electron and hole pairs by absorption of light. And this acts as the main light absorber layer where the electron hole pairs are generated. Ultimately, after generation, if they are separated efficiently, we can have a voltage difference or potential difference between two N terminals. Now the back surface field also we discussed. In most of the cases, highly doped silicon, say p-doped silicon, below the silicon base or buffer, it acts as a back surface field. Because we discussed this back surface field, due to presence of band offset and the charge associated with these things, so it acts as a reflecting the desired carriers and passing out the other things. That means back surface field, it is used to reduce the passivation technology, so that the effective carriers which are generated due to photon incident, that should not be lost due to recombination at the contact. After that, below that, you can have a back contact layers that may be fully, there is a full region, there is a whole cover, because if light reflected back from the bottom surface, again this light may be reabsorbed. So path length you are basically increasing in this way. So thin metal sheet or thin film can be used as a back contact. Aluminum contact also can be used. Typically aluminum contacts are used. And second electrode collecting the electrons and completing the electrical circuits in other side, that is in the front side. These are the basic structure of a solar cell. And if you see the three-dimensional picture, it looks like this. This is first of all p-type cadmium telluride. This is a absorber layer, main absorber layer, and this is n-type CDS. There is cadmium sulfide again, and this is cadmium telluride. So thin conductive layer of an aluminum or silver are used. Act as a rear electrode to collect holes, positive charges in principle, and reflects unabsorbed light but into the active layer to enhance the efficiency. That means the back contact layer may be full area layer. This acts as a backside electrode to collect the holes in a P absorber layer. So here P absorber layer electron hole pairs are generated, and these electron hole pairs, electron and holes, they are separated in opposite direction. In which direction electrons will flow? If you just see p-type and n-type layer, you can understand. In p side, near the junction, there will be a depletion layer. Remember that for flow of carriers, if you forget also, no issue. In the p side, there is a ions, negative ions, and there is a n-side depletion layer, there is a positive ions, and electric field always from positive to negative direction. and flow of carrier of holes is along the direction of electric field. So here electron will be flowing downwards, holes will be flowing upwards after generation in main absorber layer. And below this there is a very thin transparent conducting oxide. This is also transparent but conducting, because this is actually the front side, and this is developed on glass. During development you start with the glass, you develop or deposit the layers one by one, then you shine the solar cell from the bottom. There is a from glass side. It will act as a transparent layer to pass the light, and this glass substrate is for a support or mechanical support. You can you need to use. So here also it is thickness are given, and different structures are shown with the same material, cadmium telluride and cadmium sulfide, but the layer thickness you can vary 1 to 8 micron for the p-type absorber, though it is a thin film solar cell, because this is the thin film solar cell category. And whether this is the absorber layer is 1 to 8 micron thick, whereas the emitter layer is n-type CDS is only 0.1 micron. This is 100 nanometer. This is very few. Actually, to just create a built-in potential or electric field near the junction. And buffer layer, a thin insulating or a semiconducting layer such as cadmium sulfide of zinc oxide, cadmium sulfide or zinc oxide. Can be used to passivate the two surrounding layers by inserting a thin layer. So thin insulating or semiconducting layers such as cadmium sulfide, zinc oxide, they act as a buffer layer. They match the crystal lattice mismatch between these two. Also sometimes band gap, bandwidth, energy band is also aligned. And to ensure the efficient junction between the absorber layer and the transparent conducting layer, that is very important, because junction formation between these two layers are very important, otherwise there will be more loss, and it reduces the recombination loss at the interface. Buffer is again, the purpose is to reduce the losses, to reduce the recombination loss in particular. And front contact layer, and then there is a transparent conducting oxide layer. So this is the front conductance, it is shown here. It's a thin metallic grid or transparent conducting oxide such as indium tin oxide, FTO, that is a fluorine doped tin oxide. These are common names are ITO, FTO, etc. Aluminum doped zinc oxide or azedo. So these are the materials that can be used, the transparent conducting oxide. These actually allow sunlight to pass while collecting the transporting electrons generated in the cell. Substrate layer, to give a mechanical stability, either glass or plastic or metal, it can be developed because this is a thin film and it provides the mechanical support, already I mentioned. So this is a structure of a solar cell we can simulate through the SCAPS-1D software. Substrate type may be different type, say plastic, glass, etc. And transparent conducting oxide, TCO, the materials like ITO, FTO, fluorine doped tin oxide, these are already commonly used, and they basically allow sunlight to pass, but electrically conducting, that is generated carrier can be conducted through this layer. And for thin film, particularly organic solar cells, we need some electron transport layer and hole transport layer. And electron transport layer common materials are tin oxide, SNO2, etc. And transfer electrons from perovskite absorber to the electrode while blocking holes. Actually, in perovskite is also thin film solar cell. Here we need the transport layer for electrons and holes, and this basically transport layer will allow to propagate the desired carriers and stops the undesired carriers. Say let us consider a perovskite. It is a very common and very famous material for solar cell application. A perovskite structured compound typically form of AbX3. So methyl ammonium dihalide or something similar to that. A is one organic material, B is metal cation, X is halide. Okay, so this is the general form AbX3. And this X is halide, namely iodide, bromide, chloride. B is for cation, that is lead or tin, and organic or inorganic cation, methyl ammonium also are used, or cesium that can be used. And this absorber layer should have a capability of absorbing sunlight and generate carriers efficiently. That means absorption coefficient of the material should be as high as possible. And the carriers which are generated in this layer, they will be separated by a hole transport layer and electron transport layer, particularly in case of organic solar cell. Otherwise, hole transport layer and electron transport layer would not be required for a bulk silicon based solar cell. And now some common material used for hole transport layer, just like electron transport layer on this hole transport layer, nickel oxide is also used, some PTA, so these are the one type of compound material they are used as a hole transport layer, and which basically facilitate transport of holes from the perovskite absorber to the electrode while blocking electrons. So electron transport layer will allow electron, block hole, and this hole transport layer allow hole but block electron. And metal side back electrode, so another electrode is required in two sides, so that is called metal side. You can top to bottom organization is there. In the top actually this metal electrode is shown and glass electrode is shown in the bottom. So you are illuminate the light from the bottom in this case. And typically the back contact materials are aluminum, gold, silver, etc. These are required because whenever you are developing the simulation model for any device for solar cell, this you need to know. This is the steps are summarized. So first launch SCAPS, click set problems, go to set problems, define the problem, the geometry, structure, materials, all properties of your solar cell. Then you go to the working condition. Working point specifies the parameters which are not varied in a measurement simulation and which are relevant to that measurement. And then it goes to the measurement. So specify the action to be measured. And so what are the measurement you like? IV, CV, CF, etc. or QE. So this can be set by clicking the options and then run the program. These are the steps, the summary of this SCAP. So I hope you will try to solve a particular problem. So in this lecture basically we discussed how to install SCAPS, what are the working environments or work panel, what are the significance of this work panel. As an introductory class, a detail of any particular block can be understood from the example of some simulation programs. How to start with SCAP also we have discussed, and the basic structure of solar cell for simulation also discussed. This is the basic structure, means the conventional structure followed by most of the researchers are also mentioned. These are the reference books. Thank you.